Most people imagine old Singapore as a sleepy fishing village. But in the 1300s, this little island was already a busy port, where traders from the region, China and India, passed through and traded goods like spices, ceramics, and cloth. Today, you're going to see how connected early Singapore really was to the region and the wider world. And how do you use that idea in your exam answers? Stay with me till the end. I'll give you a simple 3-step template for any how connected question, so you don't blank out in tests. First, let's place this story properly. Historians use the name Temasek or Singapura for the settlement here around the 1300s. It sat right next to the Straits of Malacca in Singapore, a kind of sea highway between the Indian Ocean and the South China Sea. By this time, the older kingdom of Srivijaya had weakened, and new ports were fighting for control of these routes. So, early Singapore was not anyhow located. Its position along a major sea route made connections with many places possible. On your notes, write, location equals a long major sea route between India and China. This phrase is super useful when you explain why it was connected. If you're important, powerful neighbors will notice you, sometimes in a good way, sometimes not so good. Ships didn't just sail from faraway places straight to one port. Traders moved step by step between ports like Palembang, Temasek, and later Malacca, carrying spices, forest products, and other goods. Temasek was one stop in this chain where traders could rest, resupply, and trade. Big regional powers like Majapahit in Java and Ayutthaya in Siam also cared about this area. Some sources say Singapura was attacked by these kingdoms near the end of the 1300s. Why attack? Because controlling this port meant controlling part of the trade route. Archaeologists digging around Fort Canning Hill and the Old River area found hundreds of thousands of artifacts: ceramics, glass, coins, and other objects. This shows a busy urban port city, not just a small fishing kampong. In the region, early Singapore was connected through trade with nearby ports and through power struggles with big kingdoms that wanted the straits. Underline these 2 words in your notes: trade and power. Whenever you see how connected, you can talk about trade links and political links in the region. Now, let's zoom out from the neighborhood to the wider Asian world. Chinese records from this time talk about a place called Temasek or similar names, describing it as a port where Chinese ships came to trade. Chinese traders brought items like ceramics, silk, and coins, some of which match the objects found in Singapore today. Early Singapore lay on the sailing route between India and China, so Indian traders and others from the Indian Ocean world likely passed through. They carried goods such as textiles and beads, while taking back Southeast Asian products like spices and special kinds of wood. So, Temasek was not an endpoint. It was a node in a wider maritime network, linking traders from China, India, and different parts of Southeast Asia. Write this sentence start in your notes. Early Singapore was a node in a wider Asian maritime network because, and leave some space. Later we'll fill it in together. Beyond the region, early Singapore was tied into larger trade between China, India, and Southeast Asia, acting as a stopping point along the sea route. So what did all these connections mean for people actually living here? Evidence from Fort Canning suggests there was a royal or ceremonial area, while the area near the river was a busy port and market. That means rulers, officials, craftsmen, traders, and residents all lived and worked here. Because ships came from many different places, people here were exposed to different languages, religions, and customs. In some ways, it already looked like a smaller, earlier version of today's mixed and connected city. Connections did not only bring goods, they also shaped everyday life, making early Singapore a busy, mixed community rather than an isolated village. Add this to your notes: impact on people. Busy town, many different traders, mix of cultures. This is useful when a question asks about the effects of being connected. Ports don't stay powerful forever. Temasek grew important when older powers like Srivijaya weakened, and when Chinese trade opened up more to different Southeast Asian ports. Later, attacks by kingdoms like Matapahit or Ayutthaya, and the rise of Malacca as a major new port challenged Singapore's position. Even as other ports took over, ships still passed this area. It did not suddenly disappear from maps or sailing routes. Over time, early Singapore rose as a key stop, then became less central as new powers and ports appeared, but remained part of the wider trading world. Mark a small arrow in your notes to show this change. Rise as a key port, arrow 2, later challenged by other powers, arrow 2, still used. This helps with change and continuity questions. Let's finish with your exam toolbox. When a question asks, how connected was early Singapore to the region and the world? Use this 3-step frame. Step 1. Name the places. Mention at least 3 nearby kingdoms and ports like Matapahit, Ayutthaya, Palembang, or Malacca, plus China and India. Step 2. Explain how. Say whether the connection is through trade, goods and sea routes, or politics and power, like attacks or control of the straits. Step 3. Add impact on Singapore. End with what this meant. Busy port city, mixed community, rise and later decline as other ports took over. You could write something like this. Early Singapore was highly connected as a port along key sea route. It traded with nearby ports and powerful kingdoms in Southeast Asia, and with traders from China and India. These links made it a busy and mixed town, although its importance later fell when other ports rose. Newly, if you found this helpful, pause now and copy down the 3-step frame. Then, try to write one short paragraph using it. You can also download the checklist linked below to use before any test. Key takeaway: early Singapore was not isolated. It was a busy, connected port city linked to the region and the wider Asian world through trade, politics, and culture. Understanding these connections helps you answer exam questions and see that history is about people, places, and how they relate to each other. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to save this video and grab the checklist. See you in the next one.